Hello and welcome back to the Second Take podcast. Before we really start, I just kind of wanted to say thank you for the support. I mean, we didn't really expect as many views as we actually got on our first one, and we've gotten a lot of support from our friends, our family. So thank you guys for that. But secondly, I want to say that I'm gonna ask you guys to please excuse our hiccups early on. I know we didn't release on time, but we're not getting any help with this. We've never really done this before, obviously. So just please excuse us. We don't have any teachers, any parents helping us with this, so please excuse us. But all right, so I guess it's time to start episode 2. So as you can see, as I said at the beginning of last episode, for the first 2 episodes, we'll have new faces. So the new faces for this episode are Xander, Asher, and Ryan. So I think we're going to start today's podcast by kind of asking you guys, what do you guys think is going to happen in Orlando? Because I think that's a pretty common interest between us all, and I think it's really the center of the sports world right now. So one of you guys can go.
I can go. For my I have 2 bold predictions. The first one is that the Raptors are gonna make it to the finals, just because I think there's a chance. I think they could take the Bucks to 7 games just because they've been playing really well and they have a bunch of players that can take over a game. Like Fred VanVleet just had 36 and Kyle Lowry went off on the Lakers, and Siakam is always playing well. And my second one is that assuming the season ends the way it is, the standings are right now, the Thunder would play the Nuggets in the first round, and I think the Thunder would win that matchup.
I was sort of thinking about the Thunder a lot because the Western Conference X Factor player that I've been thinking about, I would have to say is Chris Paul, because his stats are just not crazy. They don't really show much besides 18 points and 8 assists or whatever it is. But his leadership qualities, I think, will take that Thunder team to not go that deep, but can take out a key team. So I think we'll be surprised by that. I also think the Sixers, I have a lot of faith in the Sixers this year. And I've been looking at Matisse Thybulle, and not just because his vlog that he does, but I really think is a great defensive player and can really take that team to the next step and bring some depth. And then lastly, the Heat. I really, really, really firmly believe that the Heat can take a top team in the East out. I'm not saying they will beat the Bucks, but they could take the Bucks out in a semifinal round maybe. Just because looking at that most recent game with Goran Dragic and Olynyk and Tyler Hero coming off the bench with a combined of nearly 50 points. That is a serious amount of points coming off the bench. Plus they got their great starting lineup. So yeah.
I think Dragic just sprained his ankle.
Did he?
Yeah, but the Heat still have a really deep team. I agree with Asher that the Heat, in my opinion, are the next best team after the Bucks. And I feel like if anybody's going to beat the Bucks, it's going to be the Heat, because the Raptors are really well coached and they have they have really good passing, and they involve everybody in the offense. And that's why they're able to beat better teams like the Lakers. But I feel like the Raptors are just not going to be able to handle Giannis, and I think the Heat are going to have a better chance of doing it because they have a deeper team than the Raptors do, in my opinion, and I think they also have a deeper team than the Sixers do. I feel like the Sixers have a good team, but I don't know. My gut feeling is the Heat with Duncan Robinson and like Asher said, they have Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero. They have good, and Jay Crowder too is playing really well.
Yeah, really.
Kendrick Nunn's a starter, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but
yeah, I just think that the Heat have a deep enough team that they could handle Giannis, because once Giannis comes out, they could still have good scoring options.
And
kind of going.
Bam can guard him pretty well.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
For sure.
Yeah,
Bam is a great
Very
defender,
good.
especially
Bam's
considering he's only, I think, 6'9".
Yeah,
But kind of going. Yeah,
6'9".
kind of going
he's
what off
6'10",
Asher
6'11".
said.
He's 6'9".
Yeah, he
No,
should be
I think
above
he's 6'9".
6'9". I mean, 6'9".
That's
6'9".
crazy.
But kind of going off what Asher said about the Chris Paul effect, you can kind of follow him throughout his career, not so much in New Orleans, but with LA, Houston, wherever he goes, his centers thrive, and so do his teammates around him. That's like, I think to this day and throughout my entire lifetime of following basketball, he's the one player that can do that, especially with centers. Like DeAndre Jordan was an all-star one year. Like, think about that. Like, DeAndre Jordan has no post moves, and all he can do is just dunk and play defense. And
That's
Chris Paul
loves.
made him an
And
all-star.
set screens too.
And set screens.
Yeah, Chris Paul
Same thing
plays a
with
pick
Clint
and roll
Capella.
offense.
Clint Capella never got the All-Star game, but he got a big extension from the Rockets. I mean, eventually, of course, they traded him, but I don't know. I completely agree with Asher that I think Chris Paul's both experience and unselfishness and just the Thunder's just will to win can be an X factor in the West, and I can definitely see them taking out a team like the Nuggets, even though I think the Nuggets do have a little bit of that same team mentality as the Thunder. So, yeah, I agree with that.
I think they could make it past the first round, but I mean, I agree with you that Chris Paul can lead a team better than most other people in the NBA, most other superstars in the NBA. But he can. I mean, there's no answer to a team like the Lakers or the Clippers. Like the Thunder just do not have the pieces to stop that team.
Oh
teams
yeah,
like that.
I don't think
But like first round,
I
like the
think
Nuggets, I think they can beat the Nuggets.
I don't think they
can
could beat the Rockets. I think they could beat the Nuggets. I don't think they could beat the Rockets, Lakers, or Clippers.
I think they have a shot against the Rockets, honestly.
Yeah,
Because the Rockets, if James Harden is going to be on no matter what, but Russell Westbrook, like I've been watching the Rockets game since the restart, and Russell Westbrook will just if he takes that many shots, like he's bound to score 20 to 30 points every game because he takes so many shots, and he takes open shots and misses them all game, but then he'll make like 1 in 4, and people see his stat line and say that he's playing really well. Like in every Rockets game that I've seen so far, I was just like, James Harden is carrying this team, and Russell Westbrook is like lagging behind.
Another player. So I've never really liked that Pacers team at all. Like I guess Sabonis is really good, but like they've never really struck that with me like some other teams. But seeing TJ Warren and what he can do with that team.
52, 34, and then 32. This man.
It's just what teams? Does anybody know what teams those games were against?
They were.
One of them was against the Magic. That was the one that did.
I could check.
Yeah, because it seemed like I just don't know if he's going to be able to do that against like playoff teams.
I think that Pacers team is borderline
I
joke.
think
I don't
a
like
good
using that
telling.
term, but
And without Oladipo, they're not.
I think a good.
Exactly.
No, he's playing.
I think he's playing.
But
he's not playing
I don't
well.
think
He's averaging like 13. He's averaging 13 this season or something. But I think next week they're playing the Heat. I don't think they're gonna win that game. I think.
But if that's a good.
I want to see TJ Warren versus
telling.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, that's or not even. Oh yeah, actually.
Dude, don't they have a rivalry too?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and he's for sure gonna be guarding.
They have their career highs are both 53, and they both got them against the Sixers, and it was the Sixers that he got 53 on.
Yeah.
And that's a good team. He got 53 on the Sixers. They could potentially make it to the conference finals.
Yeah, but then the other two were the Wizards and the Magic.
Yeah, they're both the worst teams in the restart. So
yes,
but the Wizards can make the playoffs, which is crazy.
Yeah, but they're terrible.
With no
because
Bradley Beal.
one of like the Blazers or
when I made
Grizzlies
that
won't
prediction.
make it.
What is it? Isaac Bonga carrying them now?
Yes, sir.
Isaac Bonga.
Ish
Nah,
Smith.
it's Rui, bro. Rui.
Ish Smith went 1 for 30 on 3-pointers in like 2016. I remember that.
Kyle Kuzma
Fun
last
fact.
year.
Damn.
All right, so
Hey, Kuzma.
me and Teddy already stated our finals predictions. I was Lakers Sixers, and I'm gonna stick to that. Teddy's, I forget which one was it.
I think I
Lakers
was
Bucks
Lakers Heat.
or Lakers Heat. I think it was Lakers Heat. So you guys just explain your finals matchups. I know we said our bold predictions, but just what's your finals like matchup?
I said my bold prediction would be Raptors make the finals, but I think the chances are it's going to be the Bucks. There's like a really overwhelming chance it's going to be the Bucks, just because who's going to stop Giannis now that Kawhi's in the West? I think my prediction, Lakers, Bucks. Obviously, there's some bias there, but I just think that like the Lakers and the Clippers split the season series, but LeBron and AD both play better in the playoffs than they do in the regular season, and Paul George doesn't, and Kawhi basically plays the same. So, yeah. I think it's mostly on Kuzma as to who's going to win the series.
I'm very surprised by Max saying that because that's my sleeper pick too, the Sixers, even though they're not like a sleeper.
Another
that
6
was
seed.
what I know. That's
Well, they're
But
still
that's-
very talented.
yeah,
I don't think they're
Yeah.
like.
Whatever. You can say.
I would definitely agree with Max on Sixers Lakers, and whatever it is, we'll save the Lakers Clippers for later. But I'm gonna say Lakers for that definitely.
I say this is controversial in this group, I guess, but I say Clippers. I'm saying Clippers Celtics, honestly.
Interesting.
Because I think that the Bucks, I think that the Celtics are like they have so many pieces. Like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum can both go for 35 plus on
And
any
Kemba,
given
dude.
night. I mean,
Yeah,
Kemba
but they can
obviously
also
can
go-
too, but I'm saying like
They
those
could
are
also
people
go
you
8
wouldn't
for 30.
necessarily accept. Like Jaylen Brown, you would not expect Jaylen Brown to have the season that he's having this year.
Oh, yeah.
It's true.
And that's 3 people that can go for 35 plus on any given night. And that's a ton of weapons. So if they can stop Giannis for one, if they can figure out how to guard Giannis in the first
but
game,
who,
I think
who
they
on
can
that
take
team
that
is
series.
guarding Giannis?
Exactly.
Well, I mean,
That's what I'm saying.
everybody has to figure out a game
Tyus,
plan for
bro?
Giannis. Everybody
No.
eventually does it. And the other thing is Giannis, once it gets into like a really high pressure situation, as we saw from
He
the Rockets
disappears.
game, I think. Yeah, the Rockets game where he just totally choked at the end of the game. He sort of does that in those situations, and I think he's going to do that in the playoffs.
If
Gets into
Middleton
a high
doesn't
pressure
drop
situation.
25 plus, they don't have.
They don't have other weapons. They only have Giannis, and that's
It'll
why
be just
I
a
think the
lapse
Celtics
of
will
25 if he doesn't get 20.
They have
Yeah.
really, really good defense, but their offense isn't as high
Mhm.
high powered.
Yeah.
as
Okay, but Clippers, here's how the Clippers win. I'm obviously extremely biased. Before the restart, I would have, even with my bias, I would have said the Lakers. Because before the restart, like Ryan said, like AD and LeBron, there's no way that they're going to play any worse or even the same in the playoffs. They're definitely going to play better. And maybe they'll play the same, but they're definitely not playing worse. And Paul George has a history of sometimes not playing that well in the playoffs. But since watching the Clippers games and the restart, Paul George has been very consistent, and he's been hitting like tough shots consistently.
he's been playing
True.
so
Healthy Paul
well.
George.
And the
we
other
haven't
thing is
seen that
Kawhi,
since
like
a long
Kawhi is
time.
not gonna get any worse. He's just, he doesn't care about pressure. He's just gonna play the same.
Yeah.
And then,
There's no way you can get into Kawhi's head in any way.
but I think the key to the Clippers winning isn't even their superstars. It's because the Clippers have Montrez and Lou Williams and Reggie Jackson, who's been playing really well, and obviously Patrick Beverly. And I just feel like with that many those are like all very good players. Like, I mean, obviously not stars, but like potentially as good as an all-star. Like Lou Will's stats are as good as an all-star stats. And the Lakers, I feel like they have some people who are sort of like that, but they don't have as good of not even a bench, just as good of a like second unit. It's not even really a bench on the Clippers.
Something I've been really I read about this and now I just can't stop thinking about it is how valid any unpredictable like matchups are, because the usual dependent variable in the NBA is the crowd dealing with pressure, but there's a totally new factor coming in, which is in part, in my opinion, why TJ Warren's going off right now, is that the depth perception without having
I saw that.
going out of the backboard, going out as far and whatever it is, having people behind
it's because the stadiums are smaller.
Because I know
It's
walking to a
It must
stadium with
be
people
that.
walking behind, it is so distracting.
Yeah.
That
So I
must
just
have a
think
huge
it can
factor because
surprise
what is he
people.
shooting? What is
He's
he in
shooting
all
so
these
well.
games? He's shooting.
He
like
shot
80%
80%
or
from
something.
3 this game. He shot 75%.
I think we'll see some people
All of these
dropping
games, he's
a
shooting
whole lot
really
of
well.
threes.
Everybody's shooting so much better now.
Yeah.
All right.
Besides the Lakers.
Okay, sorry. I'm kind of going back to one of Xander's points like a couple minutes ago about the Celtics against the Bucks. I was very adamant about this last episode. I hate small ball, especially in the playoffs. That's why I'm not a believer in the Rockets. And the Celtics starting center is Daniel Tice, who's 6'8". Tatum's
But
their
Ennis
always gets
Cantor,
dunked
Max.
on, always.
Ennis Cantor. He's bad
No.
at defense, but Ennis Cantor gets rebounds.
Yeah, he gets a lot of
Still.
Did you see Ennis
yeah,
Cantor
but,
today?
but there's no way you can get rebounds if Giannis is scoring on every play.
Okay, come on.
I hate
Giannis
the
isn't gonna score
Celtics
on
against
every
the
Yeah,
Bucks.
I know, but
Simply for the size matchup. I think in a
Yeah.
slow down playoff game, I think small ball's never the answer.
that's why
I'm taking the underdog in that matchup.
That's why I think the Rockets aren't gonna get to the conference finals because is PJ Tucker gonna guard
Yeah.
AD?
Rockets are not
Yeah.
getting the conference
Yeah.
No,
finals.
not even
Exactly.
close.
But that
the Bu-
even
okay.
leads- Oh,
The
okay.
thing-
You go.
I go, you go. Okay. The Bucks, I think a key factor to the Bucks making it far in the playoffs is Brook Lopez coming off the bench. If he can be as consistent as he was in the what game was it? It was the Rockets game because they had no center to guard
Yeah.
him. So whenever he was on PJ Tucker, he called for it in the post. Even when
Yeah.
Giannis was in, he
And
called
he's
for
not
it in
even
the
a post
post.
player.
And just, but he also
Yeah, exactly.
he can just back somebody, and his turnaround, like Enes Kanter,
Oh,
his
yeah.
turnaround is like it's super automatic. It goes in
Yeah.
all the time. And Enes Kanter is like that, but he just doesn't play defense really. Although Brook Lopez isn't like.
Yeah.
No, Brook Lopez has become a good rim
He's
protector
fine.
lately.
But
Yeah.
he's not, like,
finishing
known
well.
for
He's
his-
finishing
Oh, yeah,
on
definitely
offense
not.
very well right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but so is Enes Kanter though.
Yeah.
And Enes Kanter gets against the who did they play today? Was it the who did they play?
Celtics. Wait. Oh.
The Celtics. Who did the Celtics play today?
The Heat.
The Heat. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Heat. They gave up. Enes Kanter came in and got 3 offensive boards right away within the first 2 minutes of
He
getting
gets
in the game.
so many boards.
And he was like diving over people, grabbing the ball and bringing it over their head, stuff like that. Like that is
Yeah.
gonna translate to the playoffs.
Yeah.
In a big
Well,
way.
wait. Can I say why I picked
Yes.
the Heat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Well, I picked the Heat because I firmly believe that Bam can lock up Giannis better than anyone else in the East.
Okay, yeah.
And if you can lock up Giannis, then you can lock up anyone basically.
Yeah, but lock up Giannis means that he's
I know, but
30
but
and
like
12.
lock up hold him under
Yeah,
under
yeah,
35, you know.
It's like Iggy and
But
LeBron.
just make him be less of a factor.
yeah.
And I don't think anyone on the Celtics can really do that. And the Raptors, maybe you can double team
Siakam.
him or something. Siakam can do but he can't do as much as Bam.
Siakam
I
and
feel
Marcus
like-
Gasol, but then you're leaving a shooter open.
I think especially defensively, I think by far in the East is the Sixers have by far the best matchup for the Bucks. I know they might
They
meet them a
do.
little too early in the semifinals, but they are giant.
Yeah, I was
Simmons
gonna say
on
just size.
Guard.
I
No,
think
now
with
that they got Simmons at power forward,
yeah, with
Simmons
them,
guarding
because
Giannis,
Giannis-
and now
and
they
then
have a point guard.
having Joel Embiid to
Mhm.
be there in case he gets behind.
Yes,
Exactly. That's
Yeah.
why
it
I
will
think
be.
I think the Sixers
That's
are
a good
prime
matchup.
matchup for the Bucks.
That's a good matchup.
especially, I said this last episode, especially considering their terrible road performance gone because of Orlando.
Yeah,
I know
exactly.
Yes.
the same
They
the
were playing
effect
so
of
bad.
home is also gone. But
Yeah,
I think since they're so immature, since there's still a little bit of tensions here and there. You saw that the other day
yeah.
with Shake Milton and Joel Embiid. But yeah, I think having no crowd will help them more than any other team in the playoffs.
I
Okay.
think if anybody, I agree with what Teddy was saying.
And the
about
Clippers. Clippers get a big help now that they're not at home because every time they play the Lakers in the Staples Center, it's like
Yeah.
75-25.
Yeah. True.
And also, I feel like the crowd. I feel like Paul George. The reason that Paul George usually does bad is because I feel like. Obviously this can't be proven, but it seems like he just does. Like was it the Heat that he didn't? Ryan might know better than I do. But what was the series where he
It was
played?
the Jazz. Game
Oh,
6
the Jazz. Okay,
elimination.
so then
game
never mind. But
6.
I was gonna say that it could have been the pressure from the crowd, because the Heat have a really good fan base.
Yeah, no.
And they're always loud in my
No.
head.
And also another point for the Heat is Jimmy Butler. He has those leadership
Oh, yeah.
qualities, and he has that
He's
that
the
mentality
mentality.
where he's not going to let himself lose.
Yeah.
Except
If I'm
to
gonna
the
say any player who carries what really really shows from guys who are like Michael and Kobe. Jimmy's not that legendary, but Jimmy's got that mentality.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
works
yeah.
like
He
that.
definitely has
Really
Mamba
impressive.
mentality to him.
Yeah.
All right.
So
So now that
Blazers.
we all have our Orlando
Blazers
predictions
are a
out,
sleeper.
sorry. Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. Basically, we are all from LA. For those of you who don't know, I know my Ohio family might be watching right now.
even though he's
Um,
wearing a Chicago hat.
Yeah.
True. So
Sure.
basically, LA is kind of torn Clippers, Lakers. At least as far as I'm concerned, I think we have 2 Lakers fans and 2 Clippers fans. I would consider myself right now like the median.
Who's the
But-
Clippers fan? Is it
I'm a
Asher?
Clippers fan.
Yeah,
Okay.
Asher.
But I have some interesting
Asher.
things to say about that.
Okay.
So-
We're prepared. Me and Ryan.
Yeah.
I am leaning one way because I am a LeBron fan, but I'm going to try to stay as neutral as possible right here. And I want to hear why you think your team will win.
Okay. I know Ryan has the stats pulled up of all of the Lakers' offensive rating, defensive rating, all that stuff. But whatever. I know that the Lakers are better in all of those categories. And they are better in a ton of stat categories. And if you add them all up, you would definitely say that they're better than the Clippers. The reason I think that the Clippers are going to beat the Lakers, and I said before that the Lakers, I would have said the Lakers even though I'm a Clippers fan before the restart, is because it seems like since the restart, like a ton of people are just playing completely differently. And like I feel like it's definitely wise to base what's going to happen in the playoffs on what happened in the first half of the season. But I don't think that's a perfect indicator of what's going to happen, because people like TJ Warren are like breaking out for crazy games. You don't really know what's going to happen. And I feel like the fact that the Clippers have, like I said before, the fact that the Clippers have Montrez, Lou Williams, and Reggie Jackson, and Patrick Beverly's the starter, and so is Montrez actually, but whatever. They have Reggie Jackson and Lou Williams coming off the bench. I just don't see it. Like, even if LeBron and AD are at their maximum potential, once they come out of the game, the Clippers are obviously going to have that advantage because they just have a better. That's undeniable. Is that their second unit is better at scoring and is better at. I mean, they're just more efficient.
Let's go Clippers side first. So,
Yeah.
I got 3 Clippers jerseys, or 3 or 4 hung up in my closet right now. But what I gotta say is, before bubble, I would have always said Clippers, but their team is acting questionable right now, and I don't know how well they can hold up in the bubble. And I can't help but feel inclined to think it's the Lakers. That's why my prediction was the Lakers. So I say in the bubble, not out of the bubble, the Lakers are better. And
But what's the thing? What can the Clippers not hold together?
So we haven't seen Lou Will and Trez in the game. That, like, them together, like, that's 40 points right there. Those 2 dudes are 40 points.
Yeah, they're each averaging 18. That's
And
off the
who's
bench.
gonna
That's
pull that
ridiculous.
off? Like, we don't got another player to pull that off. So I just can't help but think those guys are not reliable in this situation. So, and I just have to say Lakers. So yeah.
Another thing about that is Montrez, he invited that Instagram model or whatever to the bubble. She immediately exposed him.
Yeah.
And also Lou Will, even though he said he was just getting wings at Magic City or whatever, a stripper from Magic City said that,
But that doesn't affect his playing, obviously.
Well, yeah, but it's just irresponsible, and it's like.
But
you
I don't
focus
think that
on
has-
the game.
What Asher said before definitely makes sense. The fact that they haven't been with the team, they haven't been playing games with the team, that's definitely a huge factor.
They haven't even
I
been
don't
seeing
think
it.
I know that is definitely what plays into it. I don't think it matters what they were doing at all. It just matters that they weren't with the team.
What I think
Team
Ron
Lakers
would
now,
never.
Okay,
That's all.
what I think makes a big difference is team chemistry, because I think the Lakers have the best team chemistry, if not one of the best, because LeBron and AD are best friends. And J.R. Smith, obviously, like he hangs out with LeBron and AD. They're all, like, the entire team is just friendly with each other. Like, they're a lot closer than other teams like the Clippers are. But in terms of stats, I got a few stats. So, I guess assist doesn't matter that much, but just so you know, Lakers are 9th, Clippers are 21st.
Okay.
Lakers are 4th in steals, 1st in blocks. Clippers are 24th and 16th. Lakers are 1st in field goal percentage. They allow the 2nd least points per game. They force the 6th most turnovers. They have a higher point differential. And then the big thing about the playoffs is AD averages 30.5, 12.7, and 2.5 blocks in the playoffs. LeBron averages 29, 9, and 7 in the playoffs. And Kawhi averages 19.5, 7.7, and 2.4 assists. And even if you just look at it from his MVP season, like from the season he got second in MVP voting, he's only averaged 20. I mean, not only, but he averages 25, 7.6, and 3.5, which is still like significantly less than LeBron's.
But that's not really. I mean,
Okay,
definitely
yeah.
what you just said makes a very valid argument. And I mean, I'm a Clippers fan, so I'm still going to stick with the Clippers either way. But that definitely is a valid argument. But Kawhi does not play like Kawhi is not somebody who's going to try. Who's going
no,
for
of
30
course.
points every night. Like even at his best, he's not going to get like he never has like a 50-point game or something like that, which is something that AD and LeBron are capable of doing in the playoffs pretty much any season.
Yeah.
But I think that if you look at how, if you sort of, I'm not completely set aside, but if you sort of set aside the past playoff experiences for Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, like based on how they're playing so far in the restart, I think that Paul George can play consistently well in the playoffs and can actually be the lead, like how he was meant to be on like the Pacers and the Thunder.
Yeah, but like also a big thing is experience, and the Lakers' entire roster has 10 rings, and the Clippers have 2, and they're both from one player. And also, I personally think that like the deciding factor as to who's going to win the series is going to be Kuzma, because he's been inconsistent all season. And if he's on form for a game, I think the Lakers are winning it. And if he's not on form, the Clippers bench is just going to destroy the Lakers. But since the restart happened, he's been shooting 50% or better in every single game, and his defense has been so good. Whereas used to be such a liability.
Something to counter one of Ryan's stats that he brought up. You brought up AD's playoff stats. I would argue that's not a valid stat at all, because he's been on New Orleans his entire career, and those New Orleans teams were never good. They were just in the playoffs to get swept by the Warriors. And
he swept the Blazers. He swept the 3rd seed Blazers by
himself.
Like 2 years ago.
2 years.
He was
2017.
They were the 6th seed. They were the 6th seed.
Oh, you're right.
They were 3rd seed.
But even still, I think playing with another star in the playoffs, I think that's a whole different game than trying to carry a team yourself. I don't know. I think AD is still a little bit of a question mark for me. I think he is actually the X factor a little more than Kuzma. I think Kuzma is going to be a good catch and shoot guy for them, but I think AD is definitely going to be the X factor. But
okay, so to add on to Ryan's points on why I think the Lakers are better, first of all, playoff experience, like he said, 10 rings throughout the roster, and also a lot of them were on the same team actually in those playoffs. I think it was Dion Waiters, JR, LeBron, and
Danny Green and Quinn Cook, but they were all on the Cavs.
Danny Green wasn't on
Danny
it at the
Green.
same time.
No, he was on for a season.
No, Danny Green was on the Cavs.
In like
2010.
Like it was 07-08.
Yeah,
but that doesn't really matter. But Quinn Cook
and Quinn Cook was just
Quinn Cook, Dion Waiters, JR,
Quinn Cook was
and
drafted
LeBron.
by the Cavs.
Yeah. And then also we can't forget about playoff LeBron. Everyone knows what he does in the playoffs, in the finals. He goes crazy every single time.
Yeah.
So you have to think of he's a completely like a different breed in the playoffs. Also, like I feel like the Lakers can't lose. They have 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA. Like how can you lose with 2 of the top 5? They're both just insane. Kuz, he used to be a liability on defense. As Ryan said, he's doing crazily now. He was actually playing pretty good defense against Kawhi in the Clippers games. Got, I think, a couple blocks on him, which was...
That's good. Because that means LeBron can rest on defense and just focus a lot more on offense. And when LeBron is focused on offense, that's not a good sign.
Not a good thing for any other team.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I will admit is if this is what I was saying before, like when people were arguing like on my side that the Clippers were definitely going to win and saying like just completely ignoring the facts. If LeBron is playing like full playoff LeBron potential, I don't think the Clippers can
there's
win.
No chance.
Just because
LeBron
LeBron is one of the best players. I think probably the best player in history at just at like all of a sudden flipping a switch and I mean Michael Jordan, but whatever.
Yeah.
He's one of the best, definitely top 3 best players at turning on a switch and just going insane.
Yeah.
All of a sudden in the middle of a game.
Also,
He's
in the
doing
last
that,
2 years,
there's nothing they can do.
in the last 2 years he's been in the playoffs, he's averaged 33.5, 9, and 8.5, which is that, and that's through the whole
That's
playoffs.
also, but that's
obviously-
also with those awful Cavs teams.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the thing
yeah,
is, you
yeah.
put playoff LeBron on a team with a defensive player of the year who's also averaging 27
Exactly.
points per game. If he's
It just
playing
takes
like
the weight
playoff
off his
LeBron,
shoulders.
it's over.
It
I
just takes
also
the weight off
disagree
his
with what
shoulders.
Max said earlier about how AD is a question mark. I think they're like watching
His
AD.
best season.
He's just so
Yeah.
good. I was
Yeah.
watching AD in the Clippers-Lakers game, and I was
He's
like,
unstoppable.
he's honestly top 4 players in the NBA. Or
He's a
top
6'10".
3,
He's a
possibly.
6'10" point guard. He's a 6'10" point guard that can
Yes.
guard anybody in the league.
But he can also
Exactly.
shoot like the way KD can hit a turnaround fadeaway from 19 feet out
Yeah.
on anybody. AD can do that now, and he can
Yeah,
hit
that-
threes too.
that
like
step
pretty
back
consistently.
4-point play
Yeah.
I don't
on
remember
Rudy
that.
Gobert.
Clutch.
He hit a clutch
Clutch.
step back 4-point play dagger on Rudy Gobert.
He's just great
Yeah,
to
that's
watch. Like it's
I
really.
hate Rudy Gobert.
He's unreal. He's
Hey,
unreal.
Rudy
Different story,
Gobert.
but I hate Rudy Gobert.
Back to
This is the
back
best
to
season
what-
of his career.
Yeah,
Go on.
true.
Teddy, go.
Back to what Ryan said about AD on defense. So Vogel during the Clippers game, Vogel was switching AD onto Kawhi a lot, and if he continues to do that, I think, and then LeBron guards PG, I think they are just like pretty much, I wouldn't say taken out of the game because obviously they're both crazy shot creators and all that, but AD was playing very good defense against Kawhi for the most part of the game. So
Kawhi's not driving on AD.
yeah,
But
Kawhi
yeah.
can't drive on AD. He has to take those pull-up mid-ranges,
Yeah.
which he is obviously one of the best at.
It's a tough shot. That is a tough
Yeah,
shot.
But-
for
those are-
anyone.
You're
But he
not going
hits
to win a
them.
playoff
He hits
series
them.
shooting middies.
Yeah, he does it.
But
Yeah,
one
exactly.
thing I'll say, like, and Brian said before, like the stats, how the Clippers were like very low in like assists and stuff like that, is the Clippers, and Ryan said before, like team chemistry is very important, and the Lakers definitely, as of right now, have better team chemistry than the Clippers. Just evidently based
Yeah.
on the fact that the Clippers have not been playing like a very like the Raptors off. There's the Raptors offense on this side, and then there's the Clippers offense on this side.
Yeah.
They play very different styles of
Mm.
offense, and the Clippers is a lot more ISO. I think if the Clippers get back the first game of the season against the Lakers, I thought that the Clippers were going to have a season where they were really good at passing. They just swung it around and waited, like were patient for the open shot, and they really did not do that for the entire rest of the season. If they can get back to that, even just a little bit, and start passing the way they were at the beginning of the season, I think that's what's going to make them on the same level as the Lakers, and then it's just going to be a battle between their benches.
Yeah,
Because I
But
think-
can you develop that in the next, 6 games? Can you?
well,
can
it's
you
not about
develop that
developing it.
more?
It's like
switching to it.
that's like turning it on pretty much
Yeah.
because they're NBA players.
Mhm.
They
Yeah,
know
yeah.
how to do
That's
this.
true.
Yeah,
It's,
yeah.
Can they? It's
I
like
forgot
can
about
they
that.
put it together?
Yeah, that's a big difference between the Lakers and the Clippers. The Clippers have a lot of good shooters. Like if you leave the Lakers open, the chances are they're gonna miss it. If you leave the Clippers open, like
Jeez.
JaMychal Green has
JaMychal
been playing
Green.
really well this season. He's been playing really
JaMychal.
well.
But
they-
Shamit is not.
Yeah, but usually
Yeah, but-
he's playing
yeah.
incredible. He shoots incredibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
But
they
Danny-
just have a really good
Say the
team.
same thing about Danny Green.
Yeah,
He's
exactly. Danny
yeah.
Green in the finals
Or
shoots like
Lakers definitely have good
like
shooters too.
right now.
the highest
Oh yeah.
three-point percentage in the
Plus
finals.
JR.
Yeah, they're both
is-
great
They are,
shooting teams.
like fourth in finals all time
Yeah.
threes.
The Morris
and
brothers. they
Dion
should be
and
cut.
JR.
Yeah, the
The
Morris,
Morris
brothers
brothers should be
playing
cut
terribly.
from each team.
Yeah, true.
I didn't
Alright.
like them in the beginning. The Morris brothers are just a downgraded JaMychal Green.
But Marcus
Yeah.
was averaging like 19 on the Knicks, but it's the
Oh,
Knicks.
no.
Yeah, but the
I
Knicks are
went-
terrible. But
Well,
shout out
I went
Knicks.
to the Clippers Knicks game, and Marcus went crazy, and I
Yeah.
was so worried. It was right when the rumors were circulating that he was going to the Clippers.
Yeah.
I was so worried. I was like, oh my god.
I remember that day
I
we were in
hope he
history
doesn't
I just
play
class.
don't
like
like
this
him.
on the Clippers.
We were in
and
history class.
thankfully he's not.
Marcus
Thankfully, he's
Morris
not
goes
at
to the
all.
Clippers. Then we saw when we saw Reggie Jackson go to the Clippers, and we were like, oh no, like this
Yeah,
is
God.
Reggie's been playing. That's what I
Yeah,
like.
he didn't
one of
play
the
well
I
biggest
against
like
players for the
Reggie.
Clippers.
I like Reggie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's been playing
Reggie-
so well.
he's
He's
also
kind of
an
like
X
Drew
factor.
Holiday.
He's
This
also an
year
X
he's been
factor.
playing like Drew Holiday.
because the Lakers, without Avery Bradley, the guard defense is very compromised. And if Reggie Jackson can step up on the bench against like Dion Waiters, that's bad.
Yeah. But
Right.
I have my last point. It's kind of like a joke-ish point. It's really quick though. But since Rondo and Avery Bradley are gone, that means Caruso is going to be getting more playing time. And as some may know, Caruso and LeBron have the highest plus-minus of any duo in the league. So
That's true.
that
Can't argue
spells
with that.
bad news. That spells bad news for the Clippers. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so you guys can let us know. Comment section, Instagram, Lakers
we'll
or
put a poll
Clippers.
on our Twitter.
Put up a poll. All right, but now I think we're gonna switch gears a little bit. The NFL top 100 players just came out. My boy Odell Beckham was at a place that I don't think he should be, and that's what we're gonna discuss. Who's too low? Who's too high? And I guess I'll start. So I have two that are way too high in my opinion. I think number one is Kyler Murray. I love his potential, but I don't think he was as good as people cracked him up to be. He had a 64% completion rate, which is great, especially for a rookie, but he only had 3,700 yards and 20 touchdowns and 12 picks, adding 500 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground. Okay, that is a very average stat line. I know he's a rookie, and I know he makes a lot of flashy plays with his legs. He's a very mobile guy, but I think for him to be, I think he was number 61 or something, and he was above established veterans. Like Allen Robinson, I know for a fact he was above. Like Allen Robinson is a very viable first option wide receiver for the Bears. There's no way I think Kyler Murray, at least yet, should be above him. And then my second one is Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Jimmy Garoppolo is not a scrub, but he's not elite at anything. And I think for him to be mid-40s, I'm pretty sure he was, is a joke. I think he is
I
nothing
second
more than
that.
Yeah.
He was 43, above J.J. Watt, Tre'Davious
I saw
White.
that, yeah.
Trey,
So-
it's not my turn.
I
but
think
yeah.
he's the definition of a system quarterback. He has been with Bill Belichick, obviously mastermind, and Kyle Shanahan, who is, again, another offensive mastermind. I think due to Shanahan's motion and making it catered towards Garoppolo, like not making him have to throw all downfield, it's a lot of touch passes, it's a lot of reverses, and I think that's what got them to the Super Bowl, in addition to their very elite defense. So I think Jimmy Garoppolo is extremely overrated, and I don't think he should have gotten as big of a paycheck as he did. And so, yeah, that's why I think he's too high. And then my two lows. This got me more mad than anything. Myles Garrett,
Oh, yeah.
80.
Yeah.
80.
That's because of the Steelers incident, though. That's
It's
good.
because of the Steelers incident. I get it, but we're not doing
Yeah,
top
exactly.
100 favorite players. We're doing
Hey,
top
can I say
100
something real
best
quick about
players.
that, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Disclaimer about the 100 list. It's voted on by players.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
for someone to have a low, like the players won't like that dude because
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
kind of crazy for that.
Yeah, it's
so
just the Browns
that's why
roster.
it's not like an full honest list, but it
Yeah,
is
exactly.
telling about the league's view.
Yeah.
So continue, Max. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then my second one is, of course, my boy OBJ at what, 59? Like, are you
To be
kidding?
fair, he didn't have that good of a season. He was the
Yeah,
second
he
best
had a-
receiver on his team.
Okay. I completely blame.
He's the third
Kitchens.
best skill position player on his team.
That's not true. But
Nick Chubb played better than him for sure.
okay,
yeah.
that's fine because
Yeah, so third
I blame
best.
Kitchens completely because Kitchens the year before he put Baker in a run pass option offense with a lot of quick throws, and then the next with a great O line, which was the perfect thing for him. And then we extremely downgraded our O line next year. And Kitchens, instead of going even shorter passes and even more power running, he went to longer, more developing routes, which got Baker sacked 43 times in one season, which is absolutely insane. And then,
Odell played better in the Giants.
I mean,
What's
yeah,
that
that's
say?
true.
Who's
I mean,
better, Giants
he-
or Browns? Giants.
Browns. Odell was
Giants
also
played better
injured
with
all
Odell.
season.
Yeah.
And also, okay, my last one, I'm sorry to ramble on a little bit, but is Aaron Rodgers. My one
Yeah.
complaint about it is that he's
16?
below Brady. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I completely
Yeah.
agree.
Okay, I'm done.
Tom Brady
I
should
could-
not be where he is.
I'll
Exactly.
go next, I guess. My first point is obviously Patrick Mahomes. He's too low. That's everybody knows that. I think Christian McCaffrey should have been over Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas was 6th, Christian McCaffrey was 7th. I don't think anybody. I mean, he's not better than Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey got 1,000 and 1,000. He's incredible. I think the fact that Richard Sherman was above Quinn and Nelson and Saquon, he was 28th or something, which
Ridiculous.
he's not better than Quinn and Nelson. He's not better than Mike Evans. He's not better than Saquon. He's not better than Shaquille Barrett. And then Mark Ingram was higher than Tre'Davious White, which is just wrong. And Larry Fitzgerald, obviously, he's a legend, but he's not the 69th best player in the league. And he is not better than Earl Thomas, Calais Campbell, or Myles Garrett. Those are mine.
Okay, I'll go next. So I'm just gonna do one quick one, but I think that Stephon Gilmore and Michael Thomas should switch places. Stephon Gilmore is 9th and Michael Thomas is 4th. And Michael Thomas,
not?
He's
not 4th. Patrick Mahomes is 4th.
Oh, fifth then.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's 5th. My bad. But I think Michael Thomas, he broke. Which record did he break?
His
I'm blank.
Receiving
receptions
yards.
and receiving yards. I think it was both.
I don't know.
Unless he broke receptions last season and receiving yards.
No, it was
I don't know.
receptions. I'm not sure about receiving
Okay.
yards.
Well, that's just
It
because
was
he gets
receptions.
thrown a slant every single play,
Yeah, exactly.
basically. So that's why I think that he should be 9th, and why Stephon Gilmore deserves to be 4th. He had a 41.8 passer rating when it was thrown to him.
You get a higher passer rating if you throw the ball out of bounds.
When you throw the ball out of bounds, it's 39.6, and when you throw to Gilmore, it's 41.8. So it's
crazy.
basically just you might as well just throw the ball away.
I think he
If
allowed
you're
one
planning to throw to
touchdown.
Gilmore.
He allowed one
Yeah.
touchdown. It was that John Brown
Yeah.
double
Yeah.
corner route.
He was flawless. His
Yeah.
passer rating before that was
it was 20 or something.
it was
so
it
low.
was 30.3.
That's
Jeez.
crazy.
I mean, that's definitely true that Stephon Gilmore is insane. But Michael Thomas, if I watched when they announced Michael Thomas's ranking, and they show a bunch of interviews with different players, and everybody was saying how Michael Thomas's route running is just so on point. He's never he never
Oh, of
strays. He's
course.
always running a perfect
Mhm.
route, and that's how because it's hard for us to judge necessarily. That's one of the times where I feel like the player's judgment trumps our judgment.
Yeah.
In
But
that scenario.
the thing
But
is,
definitely you're right that Stephon Gilmore
Yeah,
is insane, and it's
like-
definitely not that weird to think that.
it's a
Yeah.
genuine accomplishment to get 40 yards on Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got two quick ones. One, I love Russ. I love Russ so much, and I love that Seahawks team. I'm not a Seahawks fan, but I just love that team. But I'm sorry, Donald is better than him. Donald is a better player in the NFL than Russell is. And then second is Shaq Barrett is too low. He got 18.5 sacks last season, and he was just a powerhouse. He was so good. And for him to be, it's 32. He was at 32.
Yeah.
And that's-
Some of these are just so confusing.
That's just, you can't do that to the sack leader.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sack
exactly.
leader,
No, that was Chandler
Hmm.
Jones, I thought.
Yeah, Chandler
19,
Jones.
yeah, but the thing is,
Chandler Jones had him by 0.5.
Yeah, Chandler Jones had
Oh, okay.
0.5 more sacks, and Shaquille Barrett does a lot of other things that Chandler Jones isn't capable of doing, and Chandler Jones was 15th.
if you have that many sacks, you just immediately should be put in a certain area.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I just don't think that.
He had more sacks than Aaron Donald, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Donald.
Aaron Donald
Donald's
only
Oh,
had
yeah,
one.
of course. Aaron Donald's
he's another
top five.
debate though, because
Aaron Donald's top five.
gets so
but
double teamed. But
he gets triple team.
Yeah.
My only
Dude
one.
is so weirdly built.
My only one. This has already been slightly mentioned. I mean, obviously Trey White's too low in my opinion, but Saquon. I'm a Giants fan. Saquon is too low. Saquon, and even in the interviews, everybody was like, Oh, Saquon, man, that's a top
Yeah.
3 running back
He's
in the league.
unreal.
He's going to be the best player in the league in a couple years, something like
He's
that.
not the 5th best running back.
I know, but he's definitely
better
also
than that.
not
That's what I was agreeing with
31st
you.
in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tom Brady should
Tom
be
Brady's
so
14th.
much lower.
He should be like 60th.
It must. To me, it feels like players are appreciating how
He
Tom
was-
Brady's legacy, like
Yeah.
they just appreciate him as like the godfather of football, and like as we know it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's how they should have done this. They should have just
Yeah.
looked at how well Tom Brady played this year, how good he is right now, and there's no way he's as high as he
Yeah,
is.
Saquon
What was his rank?
He's 14th or something. He was above. He was 14th, I think.
But like Richard Sherman was above Saquon. Like Tom Brady
Yeah.
was above Saquon. That's dumb. But
He was-
Richard
he was-
Sherman was above Saquon. Yeah,
so
there
many
were
spots
plenty of
above
people who were
Saquon.
above Saquon who should not have been.
Yeah, Saquon's played so well this. He had
Yeah.
one game where he had like
And he's a
13
tank.
yards.
He's
Yeah.
he's built different.
He was
That's all
also
I can say.
injured.
Yeah, for real.
And he still
Yeah.
got to 1,000.
Yeah,
He's like
He's
Bo Jackson,
crazy.
dude.
All right, so we just finished the NFL Top 100. And now we're going to switch gears a little bit again. And I know there hasn't been like the same concerts we see in 2020, obviously due to COVID, but we can always still listen to music. That's one thing I think we can always count on. And so I want to hear from you guys both. What's your favorite song of 2020 so far, and what's your favorite album of 2020?
Okay, I'll start this one out. So I'll say what I think like the song of 2020 is, or what, like, I don't know if it's my favorite, but what the song of 2020 is. I think it's probably Kobe by Lil Uzi. Even though it wasn't made in 2020, it was made in 2016 or something like that. Came out this year, and right after Kobe's death. And yeah, it's just a great song, very popular. So yeah. And then so for album of the year, this was a kind of tough one for me. I was deciding between High Off Life by Future, Eternal Atake Deluxe by Lil Uzi Vert, and Wanna by Gunna. And I ended up choosing High Off Life because it has very good replay value. And I frequently listen to a lot of the songs on it, such as Ridin' Strikers, One of My, Posted with Demons, Hard to Choose One, Pray for a Key, Too Comfortable, and All Bad. All are very, very good songs, all from the same album. So yeah, that's why I think it's the album of the year. Yeah.
For my song of the year, it's not necessarily the song. It's not the song that I like enjoy listening to the most. It's just the song that I think, out of all the songs that got released this year, it definitely has the most meaning or like the biggest political stance. I like my song of the year would be "The Bigger Picture" by Lil Baby, just because it's, everything going on in the world, the Black Lives Matter movement. It's just like it's just like a story. He's telling a story, and it's just really, like, obviously as someone that's not black, it's like a really interesting thing to listen to. And for my album of the year, I also chose High Off Life, just because out of any album that was released this year, I listened to more songs from High Off Life than anything, honestly. So I mean, it's just, I don't know, it's just my favorite album.
Yeah.
I think whatever I was gonna say, I had stuff in my head about best song. I changed it because Ryan had a very good explanation, and I thought that defeated whatever I thought. So props to Ryan. Album wise, so I really liked Eternal Take, but I think that that's a very good album. But I think versatility speaking, Wanna was very good because it's many uses. If I'm like chilling on the beach or like working out or something like that, it's there, and it's like kind of not, it all sounds like one song sort of. So I like it. I just enjoy it. You can
Exactly.
say every song is decent on that album.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
Like any
Besides-
Gunna song. I can't.
besides-
Like 90%. 90%.
It's hard to find like an actual bad Gunna song just because it's
Rockstar Bikers.
Because he floats. Because he just floats, bro.
Low
Yeah.
key like
Stepped on Rockstar Bikers
and
and Chains.
It's not good.
I low key like
That's the only song on the album that I
Yeah,
just
that's not
like
great.
didn't want to listen to the whole thing.
I agree.
Okay, my turn.
Yes. Oh,
I
my.
say song of the year.
That's right.
I say I agree with Teddy. That was my first thought, and Kobe. If that wasn't clear, was my first thought because I mean, I could still listen, even though it's like a little bit like everybody's been listening to it, so it's a little bit played out, like slightly. I could still listen to that song right now, and I would be like, yeah, this is a good song. Like, I'd still want to listen to this. And it came out right after Kobe died, pretty much. So, that's probably my favorite song of the year. Then album of the year, I liked Alfredo by Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, but that's not my favorite because I couldn't listen to every song on that album I couldn't just listen to that whenever like what Asher said, like with one, I couldn't just listen to that whenever for any situation. So I have to say High Off Life because I just like almost every single song on that album, and I could listen to that. I could just keep listening to those for months to come.
Okay.
And also,
I think
I
you go ahead.
forgot to say this earlier, but the song "We Paid," definite. If you asked me like what the song of 2020 was like a month ago, definitely would have been that. But it's just so overplayed now that I can't listen to it at all anymore. Like I just can't listen to it. So
That's like the type of overplayed that, like that's how you know that it's not as good as Kobe.
it's like
because-
God's plan.
Yeah. Well, not even because
not that bad.
God's plan's way
Because
more
you never
overplayed.
like that.
Yeah.
You never actually like that song.
All right, I think Teddy, you kind of said it, I guess, but I think you guys are kind of forgetting one album, My Turn, the deluxe version by Lil Baby. I love Lil Baby. Anything he
Yeah.
puts out, it's an immediate click from me. Social Distancing and Commercials was on the regular, or I think it's just Commercial, was on the regular album. But still, those two songs are so good, and that I think that's what makes it the best album of 2020 so far. Favorite song, I think it's Prices on Eternal Atake. It was from the original Eternal Atake, so it's not technically the deluxe. But I just listened to that song just a couple days ago. I listened to it a ton when the album first dropped, but that song is so good, and I think I could listen to that every day for a year and not get tired of it.
That was my favorite song on the album.
Yeah, that's
On the
definitely
original
Lil
album.
Uzi.
Yeah, on the original.
That's one of my favorite songs because I really like. Oh my God, what song is he sampling? Is it "Way Back" by Travis Scott that he's sampling?
That's on a different
No,
song.
on Prices, he's definitely sampling a Travis
It's
Scott.
not
song.
Way
It's,
Back.
No,
definitely not Way
it's
Back. I forget which one.
oh my God.
I can't like picture it in my head because there's noise going on.
Okay, so I have a concluding question for the group. Who do you guys think would win in a fight? Leonardo da Vinci or Michelangelo?
Easily
Personally, I
Leonardo
say
da Vinci.
Michelangelo all the way.
Easily Leonardo da Vinci, because
Okay.
Leonardo da Vinci has that firepower in him. He's had a hard life. He's had a hard life his entire life, and he's grizzled now, and he has the heart necessary to beat
Okay, but
Michelangelo
listen.
10 times out of 10.
Michelangelo's
got the
ambidextrous.
reach, dude.
He's ambidextrous. He's
Have
a,
you seen
he's a
the man's
sculptor.
weapon? To be facing one way.
Leonardo da Vinci just paints. Michelangelo sculpts. He's good with the hammer. He's good with his
Yeah, facts.
hands. He can reach
Leonardo da
that
Vinci.
punch.
Everybody
He's a
knows
uppercut.
Leonardo da Vinci has hands like nobody's business.
Guys,
Everybody knows
okay.
that.
I saw footage of Michelangelo back in his day.
Dude, Michelangelo
Vinci is
literally
not
won
the
a
uppercut.
kickboxing competition back in 1409. He obliterated the competition. He went 16-0.
If I'm not mistaken, Da Vinci's an inventor, and
He could
Michelangelo
invent this uppercut
Tony
right here,
Stark,
this roundhouse.
Tony Stark made in the cave that genius invention. Da Vinci will invent his way out of that fight. Done.
Okay, but you can't forget that the Hulk is Michelangelo's dad.
Is Leonardo da
Whoa,
Vinci a
that's
Teenage
true.
Mutant Ninja Turtle? No,
That's
Damn.
true.
that's the
Oh my God, I forgot.
What about Leonardo though? What about
Oh.
the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle
Wait.
called Leonardo?
Are they all like old?
Yes, Ryan. Yes, they are. So he is named after.
Oh my God. Okay. Okay, guys.
Nah,
I think-
Okay,
Leonardo's
let
the
us
coolest
know in
one.
the comments.
Leonardo.
I think
who
that's
would
a good
win,
way to end it.
Michelangelo
Wait,
or
sorry.
Leonardo.
One last point. I think you're forgetting that Leonardo da Vinci squats 2,000 pounds.
Fact.
He
Done.
squats a ton. He squats 1 ton.
He
And
spots
you're taking him
Michelangelo
over Leonardo.
sculptures.
This is what he's doing. If Michelangelo comes at him, he's picking him up, he's putting him on here, and he's just launching him up. He's just putting him
Bruh.
up into space.
You must not
And there he
remember
goes.
that Michelangelo tamed a colony of elephants.
So easy. I'll do that right now. I'll tame
you
a colony
will,
of
bro.
elephants to prove
Okay.
my
I think
point.
that's a good place to stop. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, just let us know.
Teddy versus
It's
Ben.
clearly Michelangelo.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
I love you.
See ya.
For the next-